You were on Fox and Friends this morning. You were going to make an announcement of some sort.
Okay, so they wanted to have a conversation about some reports and rumors, and I said, well, look, I'll be happy to talk about it when we're live so people can have the whole conversation about what was going down. I don't want people to get distracted from the focus. This is not about how much damage was done. We could fix that. It's not about the stuff that was stolen. We could fix that. It's not about my last 2 years in negotiation with the bank. That's not significant. The only significant thing is the young lives of these kids. And so during the interview, they asked me questions about what's going on. They had a direction they wanted to go. I'm not going to take it there.
And so you weren't going to make any announcement with anything like that, with maybe getting parents involved or anything further with the children?
I've got the other announcements of this week are, on Friday, we're going out and having people, the volunteers you saw here yesterday, I want to have a breast cancer event on Friday. On Saturday, I want to invite all the volunteer fire department and all the police officers and their families to come, not only here, but in New York City from 9/11. And on Sunday, we want to invite the Boys and Girls Club, if they can get a chance to bring some of their kids up. I talked to one of them this morning. So those were some key announcements. The biggest thing that needs to be addressed, and I'll tell you, is for these kids, I told them yesterday, thank you very much for coming out and being accountable. This is the first step to your new future. And I was proud of it. I said, number two, there's some stuff we have to work out, and I'm going to yell at you later. We aren't going to do that today. I said, but number three, most important, and I said there's going to be consequences, and it's going to be serious, okay? But we don't need to get into that. But what I do want to speak about is that the press that everyone experienced in the last week was intense. And it took everybody down a treacherous emotional path. I know that. I've lived with that for 30 years. My wife, my family, we understand how to negotiate that area. And my kids know how to shield and protect themselves. I says, but whatever it was last week, it's going to be 10 times that this week. And I want you to get all your classmates together, of the 300, and we need to take a time out from the stuff we have to discuss in our issue. And I want everyone to protect each other. You check in with each other. You see how they're doing. If they get overstressed, you guys have to hang out and talk this out. During the next month, I will be your shield because I'm used to this. I understand it. I don't let the press push me around, and I always stay focused, and I will protect them. The stuff they're going to be accountable for, they're going to be accountable. But this other stuff that's happening, we all need to circle up and protect each other and protect them, and I'm going to be their shield.
So what do you mean
So
by
that was the
protecting
breaking
them?
news. Because, for instance, the parents that got together and wanted to sue me, I wrote them a note last night. I says, look, if you want to do it, it's entirely up to you. It really doesn't make sense. But I got to give you a heads up as to what happens when you do that. The press that comes will be 10 times. It's like a fury. It's a media blitz unimaginable. I understand, I've been through it. With all the sports and with everything else. And we've trained the NFL players how to handle this. I says, but when it happens, no one has ever been prepared for it. If they decide that they want to file a lawsuit, I let them know that that's going to come with it. And what happens then is the press goes and invades all your family's life, all your relatives' life, all your work life, and it starts pulling up all the information from anywhere. And even if it's not true, they will create a story. And I warned them, I says, you just don't want to experience it. If you got to go there, I'm just saying what's going to come. As a neighbor and a friend, I'm just saying that's on the horizon. And it is difficult.
So you're saying you're going to protect the children from, I guess, the media right now with all the attention the story is getting. What do you, I kind of.
So what I'm saying is this, okay? I'm getting media from all over the world. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I will take the media calls because I will take the heaviness and the heat of the media fury. That's no problem. I'm used to that. Okay, the more I do that, the less on them. Also, in preparing for it, I know how to prepare for this, but I've got to teach them how to prepare for it because they're experiencing something they've never experienced before. We want them to have the lesson from this. They broke in the house, they did some dangerous things, and put a lot of their classmates in harm's way. Okay, I'm talking about this, the media thing that's coming in, and it can crush you emotionally because it is so overwhelming, and the backlash of all the stuff that's happening digitally. So there's a lot of digital bullying going on. And so I'm going to spend time, and I'll do another release later this afternoon about how you put up the emotional firewalls of new maturity for these young kids in dealing with that media assault and the digital assault. But that's very difficult.
So was that your announcement today, that you were going to do that?
That's the big announcement, because it's happening. Don't worry, it's going to have, their week is going to be completely different. Okay? For whatever reason why they didn't come up here the last 3 days, and for whatever reason why those teachers, those parents got together and says, we're going to sit there and go have a lawsuit, it's kicked off a whole other level of media, intensity upon their life. All I'm saying is that is going to get even worse. And so to prepare for it, first by protecting each other.
So are you trying to get them together, maybe?
I would love to get, if I had their way, I wish all the parents would say, okay, look, it's like this. We got to take a time out on the issue of the break-in and destruction just for a minute here. Why? Because there's something going on that's something enormous. So let's take a time out. Okay, we're going to get in the ring and handle all that business later. Let's take a time out. Let's pull everyone together and go through great strategies for going through this firestorm. And all of us need to help and support each other. My family's used to it. They understand how to do this. But it's not easy. The point is, if you haven't seen this before, you don't know what it's like having 7 camera crews outside your house every day, where you have people coming by going through your trash or going through your past. You know, I knew yesterday when we put this on, TMZ is out there somewhere. I don't have a problem with that. I came in this morning, that door was open. I don't know how it got open, so I'm sure they planted cameras or voice things in the house. But that's part of it. And when you prepare that way, then you go, okay, I got it.
So how are you going to put out these, how are you going to shield them, so to speak?
The most important thing in the shield them, if I could get the parents to bring all the kids out here today, that would be a big plus. Because
so you would sit them down, talk to them, but what kind of pointers would you give?
I would say, number one, I know this is affecting your life and your work and your relatives. I know that. Okay. Number two, the best thing to do is, because we have this unique experience that we're all going through together, is to spend time together and talk through it. There's 2 things. You can spend energy on what we have to do to get all that reconciled, but there's another energy where we could spend time as a community and a village to say, how are you doing? How's this going for you? How can we solve this? How can we take the pressure off? Because frankly, all we did was just reveal how dangerous this situation was for these children's lives. And we revealed how much parents need to know everything that's going on. And we revealed why parents need to step forward and to take a stand right now as children navigate through this treacherous turn called adolescence. And so while that's happening, the world's changing and our lives are changing. All of us. And so if they would come out, it would be really great. And if you can get this information out faster than I can, that would be terrific, because we're going to upload everything on Facebook. We uploaded the interview this morning that Fox refused to show. They shut it down. Okay, but we'll upload that because I gave a real strong message about, you know what? Number one, they sat there and accused, you'll see, just go to Facebook and you'll be able to see the whole interview and how I handled it.
So despite them, coming, allegedly trashing your house and whatnot, you want to put that aside and you want to first focus on them and their your health and well-being in terms of this blowing up in the media?
Exactly. I want to get them all here because to be able to teach them on how we go through this. There's going to be consequences. So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I know we have something that we need to settle between us because we've got to work this thing out because we're having a big understanding, but you need to take a time out right now because something else is coming down that affects us both, and we need to help each other get through this.
And do you think it's also with social media, a lot of bullying maybe going on at school because of all this happening?
Well, there's a lot of bullying going on, and there's a lot of digital attacks going on, and there's a lot of pressure that's being placed on young lives because they made a mistake in a moment. They didn't know they were deceived, and they're having to endure the weight of the world. Now, the fact is, they're not a bad person. They made a bad decision, okay? But the fact, they didn't ask for the whole world to find out. What's happening is the world is changing right now because everyone's like, whoa, this is happening here, and now it's unveiled, and now we have to have strategy, and now we have to figure this out. Trust me, when Rosa Parks sat there in the back of the bus and said she wouldn't give up her seat, she was not interested in being a martyr that would be the symbol of the civil rights movement. She just wanted to be a regular person that wasn't going to get up. But she had no choice. She was made to be a poster child or a symbol of freedom, strength, and liberation. Now, she was great at it, and she was an important figure. But if you asked her, and I know, if you asked her, she wouldn't want that to be how her life was going to be. It was important work. She was much rather interested in doing simple things, caring for people, doing the right things, playing with kids. I mean, this has taken up an enormous amount of time for my family. And it's taken up the most enormous time for me playing with my grandchildren, which is my favorite thing to do.
Right.
But yes, I'm saying if the parents of the 300 come up, that's a conversation we'll have to be able to sit there, because it'll be 10 times, particularly this is Sunday, all the NFL games on. I don't know how, but this is an NFL story. And watch this, I'm not a hero. Okay, you want to see the heroes? Those were the military personnel that came here yesterday from Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Afghanistan, from Vietnam. Those are the heroes. You want to see heroes? Come next week when you see the women who show up for breast cancer. Those are heroes. Okay? Like my mother who fought the fight and lost it. The heroes, Saturday, see the firemen and the police officer that put themselves into harm's way. What about them? We had sheriffs come up to the house and people asked, why weren't there any arrests? There are 300 kids all crazed out on drugs and alcohol. They know when you take meth and crack, that makes the kids crazy. I would put myself in the harm's way. Get them out of here. They want to go home to see their family the next morning. There's a gentleman up here who was a sheriff who got hit in the head with a rock and almost killed him breaking up a party like this. And he's up here helping out. So the point is that I would encourage the parents and the kids to come up today so we can prepare for this week. Okay, the heroes, I'm not the hero. The hero. Okay, we know who the heroes are. And that's why we want to celebrate them and acknowledge them. And I promise you, you put these kids, all the 300, around some military personnel who fought in wars, around police officers, among fire chiefs. Each one of those individuals can sit there and mentor to that child. It's not my job. It's not my job.
So why are you holding these events then? Is it because you're here anyway, getting, fixing up the house and that?
Because this place is not going to be looked at as a scar. It's had too many beautiful things happen over the 30 years where people experienced wonderful times. And yesterday when the kids were running around and you hear the sound of them playing and the front yard was filled with balls and people were enjoying each other's company, okay, that's what the house started to breathe again because it has a soul. Okay? And that's how this should be, for people to share. Not about here talking about broken windows and,
So you own this house for how many years?
I bought it in 1981 with my rookie bonus coming out of Stanford University.
1981. And you've had it ever since. Is it up for sale?
It's been up for sale. The first time we put it up for sale was back in 2008. We were going down to Florida. I asked the kids if you were interested, and they said, no, we're down in Florida. So I was out on the West Coast, and the first group that was interested was Steve Jobs. Okay, and I talked to his people. As in,
buy this house?
What? Not for a house. He wanted it as an East Coast presence.
Oh,
okay, and then, but that was right before the Lehman's thing. As soon as Lehman went down, that conversation ended because I was talking to the people that did all the investing, advising for him. And then the other group that came in was out of Beverly Hills because they saw that this area was very underpriced, and they said, we'd like to have this for all of our clients on Wall Street. And then what happened for them is that they were part of sort of the Madoff group, and so they got snagged in that, and so that deal fell out. So there's a couple groups. Another group was a senior center that came in and looked at the area and put a senior center because they saw it as a beautiful piece of property.
It's how many acres?
There's 200 acres.
200 acres?
And so right in the middle of this, another group that deals with juvenile delinquents that want to turn this into a youth farm or one of those horse rehab places for people who are injured, where you bring them up here and ride horses. They've talked to me this week.
So, okay, but it's still up for sale, but now this happened, you guys are just trying to fix it up then?
Yeah, well, something's changed, okay, because the house got wrecked by these kids. Hey, I'm in negotiations with the bank. We've been in conversations for a long time. They refused to do a loan modification. I said, are you kidding me? That stuff is granted by the government. And they says, well, we don't care. And I says, well, I'm going to get a lawyer. Do you know I'm going to spend more money than my mortgage in the lawsuit? And they said they didn't care. It was Berkshire Bank.
Wait, I'm confused. What do you mean?
So what happens is this. They go on and you go put together a loan modification. Okay? By law, they have to do that. They have to go look at it. They said no.
Oh, so you got a loan to pay for the house? Or?
No. There is if you want to get a loan modification, what it simply means is changing the terms of the loan. And they said they wouldn't do it. And I says, you didn't even, I says, okay, then how about this? You'll just take any of the money that I owe you, and then we'll go rebundle it. Because they called the loan. Okay, the loan wasn't due. They called it like other banks did, which is a very aggressive, predatory way to go. And they says, no, you need to pay us $1 million tomorrow. You got 5 kids at college. I'm not paying you $1 million tomorrow. Okay, you're obligated to negotiate this with me, or if you're not going to do that, you're breaking the law, and I'll get a lawyer.
So the bank said you owed them $1 million because, is it because you could, were you in foreclosure?
No,
kind of
no. I had this house for a long time. I had the loan on the house, and we aren't going to talk about this very long because I told you we weren't getting on top. Okay, and I had this house, and they said, I says, everything's good, and then they says, no, we're going to call the loan. Calling the note simply means that the loan that we gave you, and even though the money's not due, okay, we're calling it. You have to pay us. It's a very aggressive move for banks. And it requires that you come up with, in 30 days, all the money. I said, so I'm not going to do that. You've got to do a loan modification. The federal government and all the stuff Obama put through to save all the banks in foreclosure. And I know the federal law. And I says, okay, I'll have to get lawyers to stop this and ensure that my rights are not being violated. And so the money that it would take for me to put together the restructure, I spent it all in lawyers. And I told them, I said, do you understand this doesn't even make sense? They just made the decision not to do business with me. Now, I don't know if it had to do with the color of my skin. I don't know what it was. All I know is it went down. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is that upon the kids breaking into this property, after they saw the reports, they said, you now have 45 days because we're putting it up for auction.
Oh, Berkshire Bank did.
Yeah. So I've got 45 days to cure this, which may be plenty of time. I said, that's fine. I hear that. I'm not fearing that. I'm not going to bow down to the bank. Okay? But it puts me into a different conversation. So that issue is an issue over here.
It's not, obviously doesn't deal with.
Okay? I'm talking about this.
Right.
Okay, that issue, I'll cure that issue, just like I'll cure that issue. I'll cure what was stolen, because it will be returned. These kids will return it. And then the things that were broken are being fixed right now. I wish they would be fixed by the kids that did it. And the families, I wish they would come up with some money. They're not spending this money. If it wasn't for these volunteers, okay, you wouldn't see all this happening. I do as much as I can, and I've got to spend the money, but someone else is. Their kids pooped in their diaper. I'm not changing their kid's diaper. Don't change your kid's diaper. But all these volunteers have such a love for this community and such a love for what happens here on this property that they're willing to donate their time and their services to be able to make this right, even though other members of the community, the families and the parents, won't step forward. They're outraged and they're angry, and this gives them an opportunity to heal too.
And one more question. I know that, did you meet Anya, our other reporter? I think she was the first reporter to break the story.
I've talked to 30 reporters
Okay.
today.
I think she was one of the first ones. She has short hair, kind of tall. But she told me exactly that 45 days that you had to make good with the
No,
bank.
October, I'll tell you the date. It's October 29th.
October 29th.
Okay, and that's going to be Independence Day. Okay, because you watch. Okay, the world will come and support this. I promise you. I promise you. I've got an investor community out there. There's someone who will sit there. I'll tell them, I says, you can, if you take this property and turn it to a place for kids to get rehabilitated, okay, I'll sell it to you tomorrow. You take this property, turn it over for military family to be able to come up here and have a quiet place. You can build a lot of units up here. I'll sell it to them tomorrow. Okay, but whatever this property will stand for, I promise you, it will stand for the love and connectedness of the family experience and strengthening who we are and what we stand for in this country. I promise you, that's what this place will always stand for.
But in 45 days, if you don't make good with the bank, then this will be taken away. Is that
Okay.
right?
So what you're talking to is a left tackle. We're outstanding in 2-minute offense. In the NFL, that's when the best of us comes out. We've got plenty of time to resolve this. I'm outstanding under pressure. But what I believe in the most and my strength comes from the Americans that out there and send me 50 emails every minute talking about how important this conversation is. Trust me. I'll have some people that know how to put deals together, and I said, sell shares to this place and let's give it to America. As long as this place continues to be a place that grows us, that has a soul, that breathes, that connects family, that restores love and trust and peace and understanding. Everyone you saw out there talking yesterday, you were here yesterday, right? They were connected. Did you hear their conversation? It was hearty and warm and important and about each other and how you're doing and people telling their stories. That's what makes us strong. And my big question in all of this, and the question I'll ask to the press, because if you can't stand this firestorm, because they're going to get it right back, I'll ask some very strong questions, which is, what happened to us that these questions like this become far more significant than a child's life? Where did we get off track that this is important? Why is this conversation at this level? Are you kidding me? Last time I checked, we're all just 3 generations from the boat. And our great-grandmothers, if they heard us talking about this, they would pin us against the wall and switch us till we bled for bending down so low and playing so small when they had to play so big, and they lived with a dream of a future that they would never reach. And their dream was that one day they'd sacrifice everything to come to this country for freedom. That one day the dream would arrive. And we're that dream. And you're that dream. And you're that dream. And you're that dream. We are that dream. How dare we play so small? How dare we act so small?
So you're saying the media shouldn't even be focusing on the finances of the house or whatever, there's a stronger message, let's focus on these kids. And
The biggest message is this story here, it's not just these 300. This is an issue that's opening up all of America right now. Okay? Where we need to step in and totally rethink how we look at their lives and their futures. And take back the power and control as a parent and rise up to respond to this. The other stuff is nonsense. What was broken here? Nonsense. What was stolen? Nonsense. What's the deal with I'm working out with bank? It's nonsense. Nonsense. It's not important. What's important is, are you able to take a stand for greatness in a time when your child is crying out right now? This is time to save your life. That's what this is all about.
then what do you have to say to your supposed neighbors who say, you're doing this for publicity or to get money or whatever? What do you have to say to that then?
Well, neighbors, what neighbors? I have one neighbor. Okay, that's the only one that lives over there. Okay, if he says anything about this house, he's never been in this house. Okay, I don't let people that beat their wives come in my house.
What do you mean by that?
You know exactly what I mean by that.
Well, you're talking about that neighbor?
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
think he's the one that told?
I don't know, but the point is, I know if it's him, okay, he wouldn't know what this house looks like because he's not allowed to come inside my house. Okay, I don't live like that. Okay? I don't. No man puts their hands on a woman. Not going to happen. Not around me. Okay, that's why I'm so furious about what happened to some of these women when they were here at this party. These girls, and we'll leave that one to the sheriff.
So obviously this is an ongoing investigation. There are charges. There will be consequences, like you said.
Oh yeah, there's going to be consequences. Don't think this is playing soft with this issue of redemption. There's two issues here: accountability, and they'll be held accountable. But how do you now take the next step to the new future? Because no one wants to live. I won't live stuck in this place. Okay? That's why I had the veterans up. Heroes, that's important. That's why Hot Breast Game, that's important. That's why I'm inviting all the fire chiefs and all the firehouses all over the country. That's important. This conversation about those three things, not important.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
Well, good luck. Okay? You can air what you want, but don't worry. We've got everything being filmed over here on Facebook, and this whole interview will go up in full. And Fox is going to have to live with the consequence.
Well, what happened exactly? Because I wasn't.
Well, right in the middle of the interview, you were smart enough and open enough to film this whole interview. They wouldn't. They had a storyline that they were being paid to open up, and that door was shut. And so they shut the interview down. Now, we're gonna, it's on Facebook right now. And they're gonna have to deal with the consequences of the egregious act that they committed. And you'll see.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say?
No, very nice.
There will be an event here on Friday and Saturday.
We're posting it up. We're posting it up today.
And you are going to post up, I guess, an outreach or encouraging the 300 to come here.
Well, I mean, we're going to do that right now, but hopefully through this, if any of the parents out there, let's have this conversation. If you hear this interview right now, please, I will be happy to spend some time with you and your child preparing for this next media race. Again, we'll deal with the consequence stuff afterwards. Okay, we're going to talk that through, but the point is, everyone needs to get ready for this. What your experience now is going to increase by a factor of 10. I know that. I've got cameras sitting outside my house down in Tampa right now. I'm not even there. You know what they're doing? Just filming stuff going on with my wife Tammy and my two, Wendell and John, who we want them to be normalized too. Okay, all our trash is being picked through too. Okay, so it's not just you. All right, and all my other children have their lives that have been totally disrupted by this. And it's not just what happened to my house. It was all of our 8 children's houses too. And my wife too. So they all have. All of us are going through this. Okay? And it's not going to stop soon. If you come up here, I'll help, and we can all prepare together.
And you just want to hash it all out, give them some pointers and advice of how to get through this, I guess.
Yeah, but they need to talk. You need to have a place, a safe space where you can talk and vent. Because it's not going to end. Okay, this thing could be driven through the entire NFL season. This could go all the way till February. I'm not saying it's right, it's completely wrong. But the fact is, we happen to hit right in the middle of the launch of the NFL press machine. So, I mean, this is some serious stuff. And so, you know, turn the TV off. I'm not watching football today. Okay, guys, get off the couch, get your chores done. Quit thinking it's okay for you to work all week and come home, and then your wife or your girlfriend has worked all week, and you're going to sit around and just watch TV while they have to work again. Have you lost your cotton-picking mind? Okay, get your wake-up call too. You know, cowboy up. Okay, if you're not making enough money, get a second job. Man up. If you haven't figured things out, get there with the bank and start negotiating stuff. Quit asking her to carry all that weight. Okay, that's not the world we live in. Okay, so snap out of the trance. Football is not that important. Okay, and use this Sunday to prepare for the rest of your week. Get your A game back. And I'll say it again. There's 24 hours in every day. You got 8 hours to work. You got 8 hours to sleep. You got 8 hours to work on your dream. You want to take a look at what's going on in your life? Take a look at that, and that will be your report card. But it doesn't have to be that way. And Sunday is one of the biggest days of reconciliation and understanding, of faith, trust, and liberty, but it's also a great day of planning and taking action. Okay, watching a football game and being absorbed in that for 8 hours, okay, that's not getting anything done. In my book, that's called Seeking Security and Hoping for Survival. That's not how you compete. You got to make a plan, you got to step to it, and you got to get it.
I wish everyone could hear that speech who are watching football right now.
Yeah. I don't get it. There's no football players that play football watching football because we're busy working on our next dream.
Right.
There's stuff to do. There's a week to take on. Oh, you're going to step into a week and you haven't prepared for it? You're just going to get out of bed and walk into your week? Are you crazy? What's your game plan for your week? What's your game plan for your life? What's your game plan for your family? What's your game plan to handle your blitz pickups? Everyone's got blitz pickups. Those are the unexpected things that are going to fall apart and break, and you're going to be confronted with adversity you don't see every week. How are you getting to a place where you don't think that's going to happen? It happens to everybody. What's going on here in the middle of all this is it just a blitz pickup. And what's your strategy? And how have you thought it out? And how are you willing to respond? And what are you doing today to get better? And what are you doing to reconcile stuff? And what are you doing to escalate your vision to be able to see past the anger and the frustration and hurt? What courageous step are you willing to take to go to that one person and ask for forgiveness? What about that courageous step that you take where you forgive somebody? There's people that hanging on to old dead stuff that's rotting them, making them bitter and angry. And that someone that they're mad at is in the grave. Okay? You need to forgive somebody and get along with building the next big part of your future. We were created with too much greatness in us to walk around in slime and filth and nonsense. Okay, don't do that. I won't be a part of it. Will not. Won't let the press drive my life to part of that. Okay, so today's a big day.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.